I'm Roy Peace, Chair of the Housing Opportunities Commission, and I'd like to welcome you to our July monthly meeting for July 9th, 2025. I'd like to welcome the members of the public who are present with us on Zoom and also the staff of HOC who are here for this meeting. The agenda for the meeting has been adopted, and we'll proceed with the agenda as outlined. The first part of our meeting is the information exchange on the community forum. I don't think we had anyone who indicated that they want to speak before the commission today, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is a report from our president, Chelsea Andrews.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the HOC team, and the public. I am pleased to share a report of our activities. Next slide.
Excuse me, Chelsea, for a minute. I failed to do a protocol in terms of announcing who else was present on the dais beside myself, because there is someone else here. So let me start by
one of them's never here.
You know, to my immediate left, Robin Solomon, who is our chair pro tem, and next to him is Commissioner Linda Kroon. Joining me also to my right is Jonathan Miller, Commissioner, and also Paul Weech. We also are joined remotely by our Vice Chair, Jeffrey Merkowitz. Our other Commissioner, Isola Shaw, is on travel and may be joining us later, but so at least a majority of the commissioners are present. So with that, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to at least get that protocol out of the way. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. So commissioners, as you know, we have advanced and continue to move forward with our 5-year strategic plan. The last few months, we've been rotating amongst our 3 key primary goals and objectives and providing the commission and the public with updates on how we're moving along. Our 3 primary goals are to expand affordable housing in our county, to enhance the lives we touch through supportive services and partnerships, and to excel as a world-class organization. Each month, I've been providing updates on each of these items. I will share that we will be in recess in the month of August, and in September, when we return, we will have our 1-year update in terms of how we've moved along holistically with the strategic plan. So it's been a year since we've launched. And so when we come in the fall, we'll have a comprehensive update at that time. But today we will focus on the Excel as a world-class organization. Next slide. As a reminder to the commission and to the public, we have a very interactive and robust dashboard on our website at hocmc.org that allows, and is transparent, allows for anyone to click on any of our goals, see how we're tracking in regards to each of these items, as well as gain insight where there may be delays as to the cause of those delays. And as you can see, we're tracking at a 34% progress. This is over the span of 5 years, making great progress as it pertains to our plan. Next slide. Today, we'll focus in on what we consider to be our most personal task, and that's to excel as a world-class organization. There are 3 sub-goals that are identified with this particular objective. It's to excel as a world-class place to work that focuses on our staff, excelling by providing world-class customer service. This relates to making sure that we are providing top-notch service to our customers, as well as an emphasis on modern technology and data systems. Next slide. And as it pertains to how we have moved forward, this particular goal, goal 3, we started even before the board finalized the full strategic plan. Once we got feedback from our customers that this was an area of opportunity, we put action in place. And as you can see, we have over 60% progress on our goal 3 achievement. Next slide. To give further insight, as it pertains to excelling as a world-class place to work and in partnership with our Human Resources Division, we have enhanced our talent acquisition strategies. We have automated our internal processes to make sure that we're able to be nimble and quick with providing offers and counter offers so we don't lose top talent in the process. We have hired close to 60, 58 to be specific, new hires in FY25, and our current vacancy rate is at an all-time low here, 8%. And we've continued in-person and virtual participation in job fairs. You'll see in these photos depicted our team and our staff participating in, bless you, job fairs across the county and in partnership with many of our state and county local partners. Next slide. We also have focused in on providing additional professional development and training for our management team. And this is the first time we've offered what has been a very well-received leadership training, a curriculum focused on core training and focused on ensuring that our managers have the skills and the resources they need to be successful. And we have continued to hone in on and support our management team. Next slide. We also have focused on talent retention strategies, and our human resources division deployed a new strategy of rotating. We have 4 offices, as you all know, across the county. And so making sure that we don't just keep HR in one office in our headquarters, that we're present and available to customers, to our HR divisions across the agency. They have been rotating. Our overall retention is down to 17%. And we do believe that we're continuing to strengthen that number. That, of course, includes individuals who move on for promotion opportunities, who retire, etc. Next slide. We're pleased to share that we had a fantastic staff event. This is focused on, again, excelling as a world-class place to work, lifting up the diversity of the HOC team. We have the benefit of having an extraordinarily diverse talent pool here. And on May 29th, we celebrated and had a We Are One cultural day. It included food, music, art, and multiple booths that were set up and manned by our own staff, and had an opportunity to share and learn from each other. We also brought in a speaker who provided wonderful thought guidance and insight in regards to the diversity of the county and where we're headed, and the importance of supporting and being one as it pertains to our HOC team, and receive very positive feedback on that event. We also are in the process of gearing up to launch a brand new intranet site. And this is an internal site for HOC team to be able to communicate more effectively internally, to get information quickly, to post information for colleagues, real-time interaction, access to policies, etc. And we've obtained feedback from HOC staff to help build this intranet, our living room, and we're really excited about the near-term launch of HOC Connect, which was named by our staff through voting. Next slide. We've also, in terms of excelling by providing world-class customer service, focused in on our call center and our customer services divisions, developing new communication tools, SOPs, references. We've hosted town halls, which have, as I've shared before, had record number turnout and were positive for our customers. And so we continue to focus in on improving how we show up for our customers. Next slide. This is actually a photo of our service center that's at Durwood, which is attached to the Laureate off of the Shady Grove Metro Station. It gets a lot of traffic, but this is one of the ways in which we have really tried to enhance the experience for our customers. When you walk in, there is signage. There's also updates on our upcoming activities. We do electronic sign-in so we can track how long people are there, what they're there for. And we've really focused in on ensuring that that experience is a pleasant one. Next slide. We are also focused on changing and modifying and streamlining and being consistent with our branding, internal and external. And our public affairs and communications team has done a wonderful job of rolling out a brand new branding guideline. And this includes everything from, as you can see, our logos, our colors, just ensuring that we are consistent and professional in our communication, as well as providing additional support to divisions to be able to send out information and to have that consistent branding for our agency. Next slide. Transitioning into the work that's underway to excel through modern technology and data systems, we have moved forward with and are very close to launching new budget and procurement software. In fact, our go live date for the budget and procurement software is August, so next month. And this particular software will help us streamline our budgeting, our personnel position management, allow for more forecasting, and has heightened security configurations. And also, of course, in moving forward with our budget and procurement software, there'll be internal training and collaboration as we roll that out with various divisions. Next slide. We are also launching, and I hesitate to say, I think Friday is the day that we are launching. Tim, is that right? Okay. Launching OpenGov, which is our new method for our external business partners to work with us and to find out about various opportunities. Our RFPs will be posted there. It will allow for us to manage our contracts and go through the procurement process more seamlessly. And so really excited. There will be information that's provided. And this is an easy way when talking with individuals and even for members of the public that are viewing, for businesses to stay in the loop in terms of procurement opportunities and what the status of those procurements are for our agency. Next slide. We are also undergoing a transition. As you all know, it's been a pretty robust process of transitioning all of our properties to Yardi and to Rent Cafe. This is the technology that allows us to oversee more closely our third-party property managers. It allows our customers to pay online, to pay their rent online, request work orders online, and to also get messaging online. And in some instances, and we're rolling this out in the future as well, being able to submit their research and interims online as well. So just really trying to enhance and create situations that allow our customers to interface with us more easily and even outside of normal business hours, as there may be needs to submit work orders, etc. Next slide. We continue to work through and work through and evaluate how best to deploy AI at the agency. Right now, we have a conservative approach. There are some rationale around that, but in addition to what comes to mind, which is being careful about personal identifiable information, there are also lawsuits that are pending that relate to who owns information once you deploy AI. And so we have taken a very conservative approach and are working very closely with our CIO and a consultant in regards to how we roll out AI. And stay tuned, we will share more information soon. Next slide. Also pleased to share that we have launched in partnership with the state and the county a digital equity campaign that allows for close to 1,500 families to receive free high-speed internet. We've identified multiple properties that will be good fits for this, and as you can see, have already deployed the internet free broadband internet at Dale Drive Apartments. Copper Mills is up next, and our other properties are listed. And so this is an initiative to ensure that our properties and our residents have access to free internet. Next slide. Also, and I want to thank Commissioner Weech, who was able to join us at the Tony Davis Memorial Scholarship Celebration. We were able to provide scholarships to 10 young, amazing people. This is in partnership with our HOCP, the nonprofit. We doubled down this year. In addition to acknowledging and providing scholarships for 5, we did 10 that included our bright future leaders here. As you can see, Leah is going to be a physicist. Kiara is going to be a surgeon. We have Aiden, who's going to be a dentist. Nasti, who's going to be a data researcher. Kyra, social worker. Imani, veterinarian. Joy, a pilot. Ray is going to focus on international politics, and I made sure Ray understood to stay the course. Joshua is going to be a dentist, and Miguel is going to help us with cybersecurity. Really remarkable, top-notch talent coming from our customer pool, and very proud of all of them. So just wanted to spotlight them here today. Next slide. I'm going to ask for Ken Silverman to join us to provide a quick legislative update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, President Andrews. Ken Silverman, Vice President of Government Affairs. This month, with the council having wrapped up their budget process and sort of preparing for their summer recess, state legislature, of course, in recess, our focus has been very much on DC and the federal government, and we wanted to just give you an update on the sort of 2 major proposals that have been before Congress. So the first one is the reconciliation bill, which they referred to as the big beautiful bill, which passed last week, and the president signed on July 4th. You may have read, it's a very big bill with an awful lot of provisions. I think, the major ones that we think could impact our customers are, a number of changes in Medicaid and SNAP that could make coverage more difficult for them. The elimination of a large number of clean energy tax credits and grant and loan programs from the IRA. We don't think that those affect any of our existing projects, but certainly it's a door that we might have liked to use in the future that's seems to be closed. And then a small silver lining narrowly in the affordable housing field is that this reconciliation bill did include ultimately 2 very good provisions from the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act, which expand the low-income housing tax credit in a pretty significant way. So the final bill, there was some back and forth between the House and Senate versions, but the final bill contains a permanent expansion of the 9% credits by 12%. So each state's allocation will be 12% more going forward for the 9% credits. And then they reduced the bond test for the 4% credits from previously you had to have 50% of your project or more paid for by private activity bonds, which are a limited allocation. They've now reduced that permanently to 25%. So theoretically, that increases the number of 4% credits that could be available. Doubles it. Obviously, you still have to finance that 25% of all of those projects. So we'll see exactly how that shakes out. But that's a small good news story in that bill that HOC I think will be well positioned to take advantage of. And then the next step will be to see how the state of Maryland adjusts their qualified allocation plan to take advantage of those new resources. The other major sort of pending bill now is the FY26 budget. And so the president's proposed budget proposed a really sweeping consolidation of all federal rental assistance into a state block grant, combined with roughly 50% cut to those funds. So that would include public housing, housing choice vouchers, PBRA, basically all of Section 8, Section 9, and a number of other programs, as well as eliminating CDBG, eliminating home, and eliminating a significant number of other programs. I think are optimistic that Congress doesn't seem particularly interested in pursuing that approach. When the HUD secretary testified to the House and Senate Appropriations Committees, even the Republican chairs were sort of didn't seem particularly pleased that he wasn't able to offer, really any detail about how this would work, what the impacts might be, what the timing would be, how, states could possibly absorb, that significant of a cut. Obviously, landlords are very strongly opposed to this and lobbying. And so, through our national associations, we've been really engaged on pushing back on that. And again, are hopeful that, Congress really won't even take that up. Obviously not a great starting point. And so, we're hoping for, the no cut or at least even funding. We did receive, if you recall, in the last budget, under this Congress president, and they even increased supplemental funding to account for inflation and keep all of those programs flat. So hopeful that, that we'll get that outcome again this year. July 14th is the first markup in the House. So that'll be our first window into, what Congress is thinking about this.
Committee markup.
Correct. Yeah, the Transportation HUD subcommittee.
Did reconciliation assume elimination of home and CDBG, or didn't get into that?
No. So reconciliation is only focused on taxes and spending, and those are so it didn't, assume or touch any of those discretionary programs. So it's sort of a blank slate. The other sort of good news there is that that those spending bills are subject to the filibuster, and the Senate do require 60 votes. And obviously, if there's Congress and the president's not able to agree, then we would have be in a shutdown CR situation as we have been before. Next slide, please.
Can I ask one other question on the the budget resolution? Has the budget resolution passed?
For 26, no.
Okay, so there is no. So what's the allocation that the House subcommittee gets?
We haven't seen the top lines yet. I think that's what we're going to see.
Okay.
At this first markup, they'll release a subcommittee draft, and that'll be our first window into kind of what they're working with. And then obviously historically, then the Senate will be higher, and then there'll be some negotiation there. So just wanted to highlight, on a similar note, some of our advocacy efforts. As you know, President Andrews, other staff and commissioners are very active in NARO as one of the key associations. But another of our major associations in DC is NALFA, the National Association of Local Housing Finance Agencies. And HOC was a founding member. Vivian Benjamin from the Mortgage Finance Division is on the board. I have been serving on the legislative committee, and just a couple weeks ago had the opportunity to join some of the Florida members to go meet with staff from the Florida senators and a number of Florida representatives, and just lay out the NALFA's priorities. And again, I think there was a pretty broad understanding that even on a bipartisan basis, the housing affordability crisis has gotten so bad that nobody wants to do anything to make things worse. One of the major points that our Florida members were able to make was that, if you expand LIHTC, that's great, but all of the projects and they were able to show that's in their projects that they presented, also have home, CDBG, project-based vouchers, other subsidy sources, and so you really can't do one without the other. That seemed to resonate.
Well, then by reducing the percent, it spreads more funds around, but you have to then fill the gap with taxable debt, which makes the deal more expensive. And so I think it's helpful, but it's not a perfect circle.
Exactly. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. Commissioners, we'll just end with a spotlight on what's to come. We have two wonderful events planned. One for our seniors. Our seasoned seniors will be having their own senior prom, an evening in bloom that will occur on July 11th. They're really excited about it and just wanted to spotlight. You'll hear more in terms of this event when we report back. And we also have a huge event that happens every year in partnership with Montgomery County Rec. And it is our Back to School Festival. It's a STEM festival. This year, it will be held on August 16th from noon to 3 p.m. And there's tons of giveaways, activities, etc. And generally receive a huge turnout. So just wanted to spotlight this, especially for members of the public who might be interested in joining in this occasion. Next slide. And that is it. I will open for any questions.
I should have asked this when we were talking about it, Mr. Silverman. The big, beautiful bill that was passed, how would that affect our residents that perhaps may get SNAP and Medicaid? Will it?
I don't have a detailed analysis of the changes that they've made. Some of that will depend on how the state adapts. So, a lot of those programs, particularly Medicaid, is sort of managed by the state, and the changes sort of change the funding stream that they get. So to be continued, but definitely something that we're keeping a really close eye on and are going to want to see what resources we can make available and, to help folks that might be struggling with.
In line with that question, I think it would really be important that we track the impact that this bill is going to have on our residents. Because I think collectively as a national story, we should be able to tell as immediately as possible how this is impacting this legislation. Because if we want to see anything that's going to turn it around, it's going to be the hue and cry from the public and from agencies like ourselves who service this population, that we can tell the story. So I hope that we will find a way to collect this kind of data and keep it up to date. Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
got a Jeffrey?
couple.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Roy. Yeah, and just a quick apology. I'm in transit, so if I ask a question on something that I was addressed already, I apologize in advance. But I was question on some of the presentation on the HR goals, and I was pleased to hear about a lot of the progress we've made. And a couple of questions. With the vacancy rate down to 8%, which is great. And I was wondering, do we have a target vacancy rate, and what are some of the key positions that are still open?
In terms of a target, I would just say that obviously that varies depending on, or what positions are available, depends on the circumstances. There's a lot of positions that are currently open, they get closed, and the divisions, there's not one particular division that's having a higher amount of vacancy. It just really does depend on the circumstances. In terms of our goal for our vacancy rate, I would say that 7 to 8% is not far off from what an average company our size would have. I'd have to circle back to get more insight in regards to how we have calculated what we expect to be vacancy based on people who may be retiring, and be able to back that out to provide a more specific rate to you in terms of what we will expect our vacancy rate to be. But I don't have that information right in front of me. But generally speaking, being below 10% vacancy rate, especially for government entity, is a very low percentage.
Great, thanks. And then similarly, with the turnover rate, also saw we had gotten it down from 23 to 17%. And again, whether we have a target there, and also sort of whether there are any key themes in, when people do depart, what they cite as the reason.
Right. Yes, we do track. We have exit interviews. We have an opportunity to see if people are leaving, one, because they have promotion opportunities, which often is the case. Some people are leaving because they're moving. Some people are leaving because they've retired. Some people are leaving because they were unable to meet our performance requirements. And so we do internally track that information. I would say that it is very difficult to have a rate on a variable such as retention and or overall vacancy, because there are so many variables that go into why individuals are here versus not. But what we could circle back, and I can share more insight in terms of people's experience here. The truth is that, again, I would love to be able to say the goal is to have a 2% vacancy rate, but I have no control over the decisions, the professional decisions that our staff make. What we're trying to make sure is that the people who are here are happy to be here, feel fulfilled in the work that they're doing, that we're competitively positioned in terms of both compensation and work experience that an individual has working here. But it is very difficult to set a rate based on something that is so personal in terms of decision for our staff.
Thank you. A couple of things. Jeff, you have any other
No, that
questions?
was helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of notes. One, I think that sometimes we don't recognize the significance of things that we have done. And I'm speaking about strategic plan. As you know, we invested a good amount of time, of resources, staff, and commission to create a strategic plan. And I just want to compliment, really, you, Chelsea, and the staff for the way in which you all have embraced the strategic plan. There are not a lot of organizations who do more than go through the process, create a strategic plan, and put it on the shelf. So they can check a box to say, we have done a strategic plan. But we have gone the extra mile, and then we have built an implementation plan. And you all know that that was one of the things I was really pushing big about. And also that we have it, that its effect has been, it's on a dashboard that we can all view on a real-time basis. I just want to really compliment also further that you all have carried to the next step by incorporating the implementation of strategic plan into the goals of each employee in terms of their performance plans. Now, and I just think that we shouldn't just let that go by and not talk about how important that is. When we are called for subjects to be presented at some of the conferences like NIRO and FADA and whatnot, and we go to those conferences and we do discussions about the great work we're doing around the Housing Production Fund and things like that, we should get a panel around our strategic plan, because there are a lot of agencies who would benefit from seeing what we have been able to do and the presentations that you've been making every month to the commission about how we're progressing. I just think we need to pat ourselves on the back sometime for what we do and we do well as an organization. That is one that I think is noteworthy. And also, I just want to personally compliment not only you, but also Ken Silverman for the work that Ken did in working with our consultant and our commission in making that plan come to life. Because as you well know, I'm not going to reiterate all what we went through, but I know, and those of us who have battle scars that know, I just want to say, acknowledge that, and I think it's important to raise that up. And so I just want to take this time just to say that to you all and to the staff about the work that we've done around strategic plan. And I think we should put ourselves on the map for that. So here.
Thank you.
On that. The other thing I just want to tell a little story. It came from Ken's presentation about the proposal for the budget bill that's been presented. When the Community Development Block Grant Program was created in 1974, it was a consolidation of 5 different programs that came together to form the Community Development Block Grant as a block grant. And the thing about that was that it gave to communities not a reduction in funding, it gave communities really a boost in funding. because it combines 5 years of the past 5 years of funding as your baseline. Okay, that was what was done. And so in the District of Columbia, and I know that because I put together the District of Columbia's first block grant application and how much money we got. And it was a progressive decline in funding down to a baseline formula, but it was in fact more money, which is just a reverse of what this bill is doing. It's consolidating programs and reducing it by 50%, and eliminating a block grant, and eliminating home. I mean, this is just moving in the wrong direction. For somebody who's been doing it a long time, I just find it offensive to think that's the way this country is thinking about and even going to adopt, And I would also, this is my own personal thing, and this is Ward Priest, not position from HOC. I would hope we don't use the name Big Beautiful Bill in anything we put out. Please. I found it offensive. And I hope we would just, if you want to call it BBB, whatever, just to call it. I'm on record for saying that. And again, I'm not trying to speak for another commissioner, but myself. I'm saying that, okay? So with that, one last question, totally off the subject. Are we doing anything for National Night Out?
Yes, we actually have a number of events that are happening at various properties, including Tanglewood, Cider Mill. A few of our properties have a National Night Out event happening, and we are also working in partnership with our safety zone, opportunity zones, in hosting summer safety events as well this summer. Yes.
The reason I asked that question because that has always been one of my favorite things. What the National Night Out is simply a national initiative to go across the country the first Tuesday of August, where you celebrate with the public service sector all the things you do with fire and police department and other public safety agencies to commemorate a community way of interfacing how we grow. And so, and lookout agencies have always done a part of that. And so I just would think that we're doing something. And so you could send out information about what we're doing. I would appreciate that. If there are no other questions. Zola, welcome on board.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, President Andrews, for your excellent report. And I just wanted to also share that I fully support our chair's suggestion in terms of telling the resident story and the impact of BBB on our residents. I had a quick question about AI. I know several organizations are exploring AI. Could you share specifically how we would apply AI and some of the benefits you expect from AI?
We're looking at AI as a tool that can help improve our communication and our customer service primarily. Opportunity to answer simple FAQ kind of questions, a tool that we can use to make sure that our letters are readable, or that we have prompts available to individuals who are answering calls and communicating with our clientele. We have deployed a small pilot as it pertains to looking at some of our letters that are generic to try to ensure that they're written as in a courteous and professional manner. We have other tools such as Grammarly and others that we have held off on deploying across the agency until we gain a better understanding of what it means to ownership of our work product. And so Commissioner Shaw was sharing earlier that there's some pending legislation, some pending lawsuits related to ownership of a work product that goes through AI tools and who owns it. So if we create a form and the AI creates the form, who owns the form? We also are extraordinarily careful because we have a lot of PII. And so if someone calls and says, my name is so-and-so and I live in so-and-so and I'd like to update my application, sure, AI could probably help, but then that information is stored and is accessible to the AI provider. And so we have been working very closely with our CIO, as well as we have a consultant that specializes in this field to think about how can we deploy and leverage this tool, but not compromise our clients, also not create a situation where a policy or something is created by AI that now is owned or has some legal ramifications. And so we are working through it, but we're taking a very conservative approach. And of course, we'll be looking to colleagues. Many of the IT companies, Yardi included, are doing various sessions and training and information about AI. And so we'll be taking an opportunity to hear and let someone test it and determine if that's the route that we want to take ourselves.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to circle back. I did get a data point and wanted to just share in regards to the questions from Commissioner Merkowitz pertaining to where we are in regards to our vacancy rate. Did get some additional insight that in our industry, in terms of staffing, it's approximately 20% is the vacancy rate that's experienced in our industry. I'll go even further to say in property management space, for example, far higher. So for our rates to be low, and of course we'll continue to push as low as we can. We want to be in single digits. We're definitely well positioned. So wanted to provide that additional information that I was given.
Great. No, I appreciate that, and even more impressive then. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With no other questions, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Commissioners' Exchange. Do any commissioners have anything they want to share with our commission?
I have some information on a private partnership with another housing authority and some details there, but I'll do it by email. We have on agenda today, and so I'll review with that today, and I'll our president.
Also, included in your package was a report that you received that said Affordable Housing Pipeline Report. This is put out by the Department of Housing and Community Affairs in Montgomery County, and it shows you what projects they have invested, basically HIF funding involved in. The HOC is included in here for our preservation projects in Bethesda. We have traditionally relied a great deal on working collaboratively with the county about the use of HIF funds, and you can see what is in their pipeline for going forward in terms of what's there now and what's in the future. It's important because while we have the Housing Production Fund, we still need to have access to this source of capital as well. We will continue to work very collaboratively with this department in terms of going forward and getting more approvals for HIF funding for our developments that we will need. I also want to share with you all and I have a copy for you, Chelsea, and give Arthur. This is the Harvard University. Harvard puts out a study every year on the status of housing in the country. And it's really kind of a seminal document that's used by a lot of policy wonks around the world, really, about looking at what's going on in housing. And I just find it fairly staggering in terms of just some of the metrics that they have put in here. I won't take but a minute to do this, but it says the median existing housing price hit a record high of $412,500, exceeding $400,000 for the first time. The nationwide home price to income ratio hit 5.0 for the record for 2005. It goes on to talk about the fact that the monthly mortgage payment on a median price home hit a record high of $2,560. It goes on further to say the lowest number of existing home sales occurred since 1954 of only 4 million. That the first decline in home ownership rate in 8 years was during this period of time. A record high median age for first-time home buyers, 38 years of age, and a record low rate of domestic moves, 8.3. So people are not moving because they can't afford to move. and not born. But there are some statistics that are in here that I think are alarming, and they become even more alarming to me when you put that in juxtaposition to what is being proposed for funding for housing. Okay, so if this is a story in 2025, I hate to read the story for 2026. We're going in the wrong direction. And I just want to share this with you all. This is a way, because I know that all of you all like to share documents in terms of what's going on. So I want to keep your reading level up. I mean, I thought that 250 pages from a monthly report would be enough, but here's some more for you to digest. But we just need to stay aware of the conditions that we are working in. I think you all know that, so I'm not telling you all anything you don't know. But we just need to keep this in front of ourselves, because this is why we are so committed to our mission around affordable housing and how we can create new approaches and new ways to make sure that the residents of Montgomery County at least have a fighting chance of potentially becoming a homeowner, for building lifetime equity and for being able to find affordable housing. And we've got to continue to push that mission forward. So I just want to just bring that to your attention as we move forward. The last thing I want to mention to you is about there was a task force that was created by legislation in this past state, which was the creation of the task force on the displacement of residents at Emory Grove. And Delegate Crutchfield and Delegate Weems were responsible for facilitating the approval of this at the state level this past session. And they created this Emory Grove task force. And the legislation was very specific about who would be on the task force. It even designated who would serve as the chair. And the chair of this task force is Jim Stowe, who heads up the Human Rights Commission. So, and HOC is designated as one of the participants on this group as well. And it designates specifically either our president or, in fact, our chair to serve. And so I'm serving on this commission right now, attending the first meeting, and partly because of the fact of just my background in urban renewal, because the focus of this task force is around the impact of urban renewal in the Emory Grove area. And so they have to produce a draft report by December of this year, and a full report by a year after that in 26. And so I just want to mention that we are doing this. We're part of it. I'll keep you all updated about what progress, and make sure that I share any materials about this that come out of this process. So just want to mention that to you, since we are heavily involved, as you well know, in Emory Grove. With that, I don't have anything else to say. I've said too much already, but if any other questions? If not,
I had a couple things I wanted to share.
Go ahead.
At the risk of prolonging, first of all, you didn't share too much, Mr. Chairman. It was a great contribution. And I had gone now twice out to look at the property around Heritage Grove, and I'm really excited to hear what your commission comes up with and to continue the process of HOC getting involved in its revitalization. The couple things I wanted to share is I had the opportunity to go to Chicago for July 4th and had the opportunity to visit the Hull House, which is the museum of the settlement community there, where Jane Addams did her pioneering work on urban redevelopment back in the turn of the century. And I recommend it to all of my fellow commissioners as something to do when you're in Chicago, Isola, and just as a meaningful thing. And then I also went to the brand new National Public Housing Museum, also in Chicago, where they have preserved one of the buildings from the Jane Addams homes and have turned it into a museum. And I also commend it to anybody that goes to Chicago as worth the visit, to learn a little bit about the history of our work and where we have to go from here. Third thing I wanted to share was that an article was circulated that talked about our work favorably written by someone at the Joint Center for Housing Studies on our work and social housing in general in America. And I'd commend it to everybody who's listening to our event today, and recommend to my fellow commissioners a similar article that was published in a Substack called A City That Works, that's on how to make social housing work in Chicago. I'll disclose that I'm very close to the author, and would welcome it if anybody on the HOC staff were to read it, because it talks about our work in contrast to what they're trying to do in the city of Chicago and what the city of Chicago can learn about in doing social housing from what we've done here. And then sorry again, Mr. Chairman, that taking too much of our time on personal stuff. My final personal thing I wanted to say, since I have a microphone in front of me, is that I will be remembering tomorrow, oh my gosh, my good friend Conrad Egan, who passed away, national leader in affordable housing. Conrad started at HUD in San Francisco, came to HUD, was the head of the multifamily programs there, and then went on to head the National Housing Conference. He was the executive director of the Millennial Housing Commission. So let's just say a huge leader in our field, will be remembered by many, many who are going to show up tomorrow, I'm sure, as one of our leaders and one of the really good guys in the work we did. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that, Paul. And thanks for that memory about Conrad. Conrad was also a good friend, colleague, who I worked with a lot as well. I think Conrad and I were last together about 6 months ago doing something. And so, we lose people so fast today. I mean, it's just unfortunate. But he was, in fact, a leader in this field. So thank you for that. Anything else? If not, thank you all for all the sharing. The next item on our agenda is a report of the Resident Advisory Board.
So scary looking microphone. Good afternoon, Commissioners, President Andrews, staff, and members of the public. For the record, my name is Adam Tinchuk, and I am serving as President of the Resident Advisory Board. Today, we'll be sharing an update on the activities of the board for the month of July 2025. At the start of our meeting, President Andrews swore in our newest RAB member, Ms. Jameen Johnson. She represents supportive housing programs at HOC. She has been a participant in the McKinney program for 20 years, and she feels that her lived experience and her voice will be instrumental to the RAB, and we look forward to her service on the board. The board was also provided with a presentation on the affordable housing recertification process by Darcel Cox, Vice President of Compliance, and Temperance Oliver, Compliance Oversight Manager. In addition, the board was provided with a presentation on the new Inspire process by Lynn Hayes, Vice President of Housing Resources. The board also underwent the process of removing a project-based voucher representative RAB board member who was unable to fulfill her duties due to other obligations. So as of right now, we currently have 7 active members on the board. We have one more meeting scheduled for July 21st. Ken Silverman will be making a presentation. After that, we will be taking a break in August and we will return in September. So thank you. And are there any comments or questions?
Thank you very much. It's always good to hear the work that you all are doing and the fact that you all are continuing to serve us in a very important way. In fact, Mr. Pinchek and I coordinated to make sure we had a longer discussion around commissioner exchange, so he had time to get here.
I appreciate that.
So gotta be strategic. So thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Next, now move the agenda. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of our open session meeting of June 4th. Also, our closed session meeting of June 4th, the minutes of our special session of June 18th, and also of our special closed session of June 18th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Probably moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So ordered. Thank you very much. We'll now move to the committee reports and recommendations for action section of our agenda. And our first committee report will come from our on the Housing Choice Voucher from our Administrative and Regulatory Committee. This is here chaired by Linda Kroon. I'll now turn it over to you, Linda.
I'm so sorry. Did y'all hear? Okay. I would like to introduce President Andrews and HOC staff to an overview of this item.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Commissioners, this item did go before our ARC committee and receive support. This is a effort to continue to work through revising, streamlining, and making sure that our administrative plan is both in compliance with HOTMA requirements, but also is easy to understand for members of the public. And we've worked in tandem with a consultant in terms of doing this review. We will be making continuous revisions to the admin plan, and you see a number of chapters were covered here. I would like to turn it over now to Darcel Cox, our Vice President of Compliance, to provide a high-level overview. I'll just note for the public and for the commission, we do hearken back if you click on the hyperlink to the presentation, which was much more robust and thorough for the committee meeting that goes through each of these items in more detail. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Darcel Cox. I'm the Vice President of Compliance. And today I will present to you several updates on many of the chapters within the administrative plan. As President Andrews mentioned, HOC did engage a vendor back in January of 2024, Doing Associates. Together, we worked to make not only HOTMA and Inspire updates, but we reviewed and updated the entire admin plan, focusing on regulatory and non-regulatory revisions to include reorganization to improve the flow and readability, as well as addition of new or removal of obsolete language. Next slide. I will walk you through some of the streamlining updates, but focus more on the policy changes. So in chapter 2, we made updates to the language, and we added additional language. We moved significant language from chapter 7 to chapter 2. We felt like it was better placed there. In chapter 3, we updated language, added language, revised language, but we also had a policy change. This policy change was removal of language under limitations on who may apply. The way the admin plan read initially is that you would be denied based on income at the time of your application, but that is not the case. Anyone can apply, and at the time of call up, then we will determine eligibility and if you qualify. So we made that revision. In chapter 5, we have updated language, but also a policy change. Under a reasonable accommodation, you may receive an increase in your voucher size to accommodate for live-in aid. So we are proposing to decrease your voucher size within 120 days if you no longer need the accommodation. Next slide. In chapter 6, we did minor updates. We updated some language. Chapter 7, we updated language as well as removed language within chapters. Chapter 10, we made significant updates. One of those being the Inspire updates, which Lynn Hayes, Vice President of the Housing Resources Division, will cover in detail after my presentation. But we had a significant policy update to include the lead safe housing rule. This is a federal regulation, and HOC was required to update its admin plan. And what that is that if a child under 6 is identified with elevated blood levels, HOC is required to take certain actions, including notifying the health department or medical providers. Next slide. Chapter 12, we updated language, added language, and removed obsolete language. 15, the same, updated language and added additional language. Next slide. So as President Andrews mentioned, we did take this forth to the June 17th Administrative and Regulatory Committee and received a recommendation to support staff to move forward to the full commission. And staff recommends that the Housing Opportunities of Commission accept staff's recommendation to adopt the regulatory policies with language to improve clarity, efficiency, and authorize the president, executive director, or her designee to implement revisions to the administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. I will pause here. This concludes my presentation and take any questions.
Are there any questions?
I have a question. So my understanding, I note that we put in the material about lead paint. Do we have a problem with lead in our housing at all?
Good afternoon, commissioners. No, we do not.
That's good.
Yeah, we have not had a problem since my tenure here, which is a long time.
Great. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2541?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This motion approved.
Thank you.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We will now move to our next item on the agenda. It's authorization to submit HOC's fiscal year 2025 Section 8 Management Assessment Program, CMAP certification. This item was presented to the Administrative and Regulatory Committee. I would like to introduce President Andrews and the HOC staff to provide an overview of this item.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is an item that comes before the board on an annual basis. It's a requirement that we have to do our own self-certification and submit to HUD. We have been fortunate in the sense that our agency has been a high performer. I'm pleased to share that we continue that trend. I would like to turn it over to my colleagues, and in particular, Darcel Cox, Vice President of Compliance, to share an overview of our current evaluation and status.
Good afternoon. Again, for the record, I am Darcel Cox, Vice President of Compliance, and today I will present HOC's annual score for HUD's Section 8 Management Assessment Plan, also known as CMAP. CMAP is a measure of the Public Housing Authority's performance using 14 indicators as it relates to the Housing Choice Voucher Program. As President Andrews shared, and I'm also happy to present that HOC is once again a high performer. HOC scored a 90%. However, while HOC is a high performer, there are 3 areas of opportunity. HOC received partial points in 2 areas. This is rent reasonableness as well as adjusted income. HOC did not score any points in the area of housing quality standards, also known as HQS. I will focus on HQS as HOC is required to submit a corrective action plan to HUD whenever you do not receive any points. So again, a PHA is not allowed any 24-hour violations. HUD has strict rules on this, even if the inspection, the violation is identified on a Friday. So HOC took measures of improvement and now only conduct inspections Monday through Thursday. This will ensure that any 24-hour violations will be addressed timely. HOC also will notify landlords immediately of the 24-hour violations. HOC also receives daily reports of outcomes of 24-hour violations. This will allow HOC to identify any missed 24-hour violations and deploy an inspector immediately. I'm sorry, next slide. Okay.
I was just going to chime in here to give a little more context in terms of that particular indicator. It's an all or nothing score. If you have any violation, even one, you will not get the points. So it's a sum game. And therefore, if you have any miss 24-hour violation in terms of landlord going and addressing the issue or us coming back out, we will not get the points. So it requires 100% of the time for you to meet the requirement. I just wanted to make sure you understand that's different than some of the other points that you can obtain. And it's an important factor. Just to give you some context in terms of the types of issues that we experience, primarily they're smoke detectors. It's a smoke detector violation that has to be addressed, and again, we're going to try to make changes in terms of the dates so that if the inspector goes back out on Monday, it's not considered beyond the 24 hours. But that is that's the major area that we find ourselves.
And the batteries disappear.
Right.
And you can't sit there for 24 hours.
Correct. And so just wanted to give a little bit more context. This is an area that is difficult to obtain all the points. We will continue to work hard. You will hear the work that our VP of HRD has done with informing our landlords, especially as we get ready to launch Inspire, that you'll hear more about in terms of the importance of smoke detectors and maintaining the smoke detector requirements. But just wanted to provide you with that context. Darcel?
Next slide. So this item moved forward. We presented this item to the Administrative and Regulatory Committee at its June 17th meeting, which received support. And we asked for the commissions to join staff's recommendations to submit HOC's fiscal year 2025 CMIP certification to HUD as a high performer, receiving 90%. I'll pause here and ask any questions.
Any questions?
So let me follow up on this issue of the violation. So describe the process a little to me of how we're notified of a violation. Like, how does the whole thing work?
So I'll address that. Good afternoon, for the record, Lynn Hayes, Vice President of Housing Resources. At the time of the inspection, the landlord is notified of the violation. The inspector will reach out to the landlord by phone or text and then follow up with an email notification.
And what would instigate our inspection?
What do you mean?
Why would there be an inspection of
So we're required to inspect the properties annually and initially before the families can take occupancy of the properties. So it's an annual and an initial HUD requirement.
I see. So the 24-hour requirement is all related to the annual inspection.
That's correct. Or a tenant may, if there are issues in the home, the tenants may contact us directly and we would conduct what's called a special inspection.
So let me ask a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Let's say they call up on Friday and they say our smoke detector's not working. But do we not go out?
So we have not run into that, to be honest. And so I don't know how we would address that. We would go out and maybe make arrangements for our in-house team to follow up.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not run into that.
If it's a 24-hour violation, presumably those are more serious.
That's correct.
I mean, I can understand our not scheduling
That's right.
the thing on a Friday for obvious reasons, but if something comes to our attention,
we would definitely go and address if it's something serious or life-threatening. Certainly, we would take the steps to investigate whatever the situation is and take the appropriate action.
Thank you.
Sure.
Right. And I just, again, just to make sure we're clear, there are annual inspections that take place. If during that inspection, a life safety issue is addressed, it's considered a 24-hour requirement for the landlord to address it and for us to go out and re-inspect. I will also add additional context. There were some challenges that we had to work through as well with Yardi, who is the software provider that ultimately allows us to pull the inspection reports and know which properties we needed to go to and when. And there was a period of time in which their system was faulty. And that is something that has since been addressed. But I do want to make sure I indicate that on the record as being one of the challenges that we've had to work through. But yes, and if a tenant reaches out and there's an emergency situation, not only do we go out and do an inspection, but if it warrants a situation where we need to provide them with an emergency transfer voucher, we do that. If it's extraordinarily serious, our ombudsman and resident services team will get involved to determine if we should provide some additional support in terms of housing for a temporary basis while we help them locate another site. So there is definitely a robust approach to addressing if someone is living in a circumstance that is far beyond what should be suitable living circumstances.
But less than that, something that would tick the 24-hour violation box, but might not be life-threatening, in a normal conversation, like a broken smoke detector, we'd still treat that.
We'd notify the landlord. And I can also have further conversation with Lynn outside of this conversation. I know that there are times where we've been able to deploy a virtual inspection option. I'm not certain if that's something that we currently do, but if it's not life-threatening on a Friday at 5 p.m.,
of course.
The effort would be to notify the landlord and to get out there first thing on Monday morning.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And are there any further questions? Zola, you have any questions?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
That's Jay. Okay, Jeff, go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. First off, I want to acknowledge the staff for, again, scoring as a high performer. That's a big accomplishment. So I want to congratulate the staff and acknowledge that. Secondly, I wanted to ask, I do understand there's, these additional circumstances around the HQS enforcement score. With the two other items that where we didn't receive full marks, and at least for the second year in a row, I'm just curious in terms of how we're addressing that to try to get our score up. Are we doing anything different than we did the year before, since that wasn't successful in getting us those additional points, or is it more of the same?
Sure. Good afternoon, Commissioner Merkowitz. We recently hired a trainer within our division, internally within the Housing Resources Division. And so she is working with our compliance team, reviewing the data. So we have metrics and quality control reviews, reviewing that data to identify systemic issues and then working with staff to make improvements and corrections. So she is relatively new here, but we are appreciative that she's on board and looking forward to working with her to, again, identify systemic issues and make corrections in hopes of improving our score next year.
There are also some additional steps, thank you, Lynn, that we're taking. One, we're getting ready, and we did launch HOTMA as required on July 1st. And as a result, these are new requirements. And so there was a lot of training that Lynn, compliance team, and others went through to make sure that we understand those new requirements. It will be a sea change for the entire team. And so we will be doing spot checks, QC quizzes, et cetera, to make sure that everyone understands the new requirements. And these two areas are specifically areas that changed as a result of HOTMA. So it's an opportunity for everyone afresh and anew to learn and make sure they master the policy and the requirements. Also in onboarding, we do the onboarding training for this as well. So in addition to the trainer, in addition to compliance, there also is an HR trainer that's working in tandem to make sure that we strengthen the training component here, and that we have an opportunity to help staff who are having some of the challenges with regards to these calculations.
Thank you, President
Great.
Andrews.
Yes, no, thank you. And again, just want to congratulate staff on the high performer status. And but obviously we should always continue to strive for improving where we can. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, any more questions? With that, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 2542?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. This motion is approved. And the final item that we have with the that we discussed was the authorization to adopt a new policy for the implementation of the national standards for the physical inspection of real estate, INSPIRE. Once again, I would like to introduce President Andrews and the HOC staff for the overview of this item.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is a follow-up to prior discussions. You might recall, we also had public virtual meetings explaining INSPIRE. We've talked and trained our internal team, but also had an opportunity to go through these requirements with the RAB. And we are poised and ready to move forward with adopting INSPIRE. I will say that INSPIRE is a shift from Housing Quality Standards, HQS. And Lynn did a great job during the ARC committee meeting, explaining what some of those differences are. Again, for the public, you can go back and view that meeting if you'd like to hear more information. There is a strong likelihood we are hearing from our colleagues and professional partners, industry partners, that it is likely that HUD will postpone this particular requirement or deadline to implement, which is currently on October 1st. However, we can adopt early, and we intend to just stay the course. We are ready. We've already informed everyone. And we want to just move forward. And I just wanted to give that information because that date may change. With that, I will turn it over to our Vice President of Housing Resources Division, Lynn Hayes.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. Lynn Hayes for the record, Vice President, the Housing Resources Division, here to request authorization to adopt a new policy for the implementation of the national standards for the physical inspection of real estate, or INSPIRE. To the next slide. INSPIRE is the criteria that we use to inspect the homes of our housing choice voucher and project-based voucher families, replacing housing quality standards, or what we know as HQS. INSPIRE applies to all HUD housing programs, increasing the inspection consistency and alignment of multiple inspection standards across all HUD programs. INSPIRE prioritizes the health and safety of our residents, focusing on their individual units. HUD published the final rule of the INSPIRE on May 11th of 2023 with an effective date of October 1st of 2023. There were subsequent notices afterwards postponing the implementation date to October 1st of 2024, then again October 1st of 2025. As President Andrews mentioned, the date will most likely be postponed again. That's hot off the press news. But we intend, with your approval, to move forward with initiating the policy effective October 1st, 2025. We presented this item to the Administrative and Regulatory Committee on June 17th, 2025. Next slide, please. The proposed language or the changes can be found in Chapter 10 of our administrative plan. HUD will update the INSPIRE standards every 3 years. There haven't been any changes to the HQS or housing quality standards in over 20 years. We made a draft of the changes available to the public on March 21st of this year. Additionally, we presented the information of the anticipated or the required changes to our landlords last year on November 4th. We've shared that information with our residents again this year on April 5th in writing. And we also hosted 2 town hall meetings, as President Andrews indicated, on May 21st and May 28th of this year that were well attended. We provided an overview of the Inspire changes, and we continue to receive questions through an email that we've set up to answer questions about Inspire. Our third-party contractor, Gilson Housing Partners, is certified and ready to implement the Inspire changes now. We also presented the information to our Resident Advisory Board on June 16th of 2025. Next slide, please. So we, again, are requesting your approval to implement a policy for Inspire and allow President Andrews or her designee to implement revisions to Chapter 10 of our administrative plan. And at this point, I will take any questions that you have.
Commissioners, we have any questions? Then can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2543?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
it's been properly moved in second. Can I get, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. This motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just an observation. The previous action we took was related to the CMAP score. And one of the items which we have not gotten any points for had to deal with the whole HQS inspection. Now we have Inspire, so I'm assuming it's going to affect the CMAP score for next year. Yeah. Okay. But no other item to come before us. We'll move to the agenda. The next item is for the Budget, Finance, and Audit Administration Committee, Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee. The item that's before us now deals with the Property Management Services contract for Elizabeth House of the Leggett. I will turn to our President Andrews for initial presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners, this item did go before our BF&A committee and they supported advancing it. It pertains to the Leggett and a request to renew our current property management company, Habitat. I will turn it over to our Vice President of Property Management, Ali Ozier, to provide additional context.
Thank you, President Andrews. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here to present to you pertaining to the renewal of the property management agreement for Elizabeth House 3 or the Leggett with Habitat America. The Leggett is a 267-unit senior community in Silver Spring. The community, it consists of 132 tax credit units, 80 PBRA, 26 PBV, and 29 market rate units. The property itself also features is adjacent to the South County Regional Recreation and Aquatic Center, 120,000 square foot facility managed by Montgomery County, as well as a 7,500 square foot senior resource center and primary care facility operated by Holy Cross Hospital. We have been, HOC has been doing tenant surveys, and based on those tenant surveys, we have received 24 responses with the rating scale of.
Hold on 1 second. Let's get in line with the pages. Let me ask for them to advance the slide for you so that it can go along with what you're reporting out. Next slide, please. There you are. Thank you.
Based on the 24 tenant surveys conducted between April and June, using a rating scale of 1 to 5, 1 being poor and 5 being excellent, 63% of the responses rated the service as a 5, meaning excellent. 22% rated the service as 4, meaning above average. 12% rated the service as 3, meaning average. Only 2% of the tenant responses were either 1 or 2, indicating strong commitment on the of the on-site team to provide an exceptional customer experience for our residents. The contract itself is currently set to expire on July 31, 2025. The renewal term would cover August 1, 2025 through July 31, 2026. It is the final renewal, 1-year renewal term remaining as part of all of our property management agreements. The original contract is for a term of 2 years. Then we have 2 1-year options to renew, and this is the final option to renew. The cost of the contract is going to be $140,976 for the year. This cost is already in the calendar year 25 budget and will not have an impact, a financial impact. Habitat currently manages 5 HOC properties. Their occupancy is listed in the presentation, and the average occupancy is approximately 98% for the portfolio that they oversee, including the Leggett being at 97.4% occupied. Therefore, staff recommends that the commission approve the renewal of the property management services contract with Habitat America for the Leggett for 1 year. Thank you.
Are there any questions? This matter was presented before to the committee, and the committee recommended that it be brought forward to the full commission for approval. Any questions?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I should have asked this at the committee level. The chart says that the annual contract cost is $149.76 at 100% occupancy. Does that imply if it's the occupancy levels below that level, we pay a lower amount?
Yeah, we only pay for occupied units. So if there's vacancy, we will not pay for those units. Yes. Yes.
I think it'd be helpful, whenever you mention management contracts, to put the percent in the contract. It would.
Yeah,
I
apologize. Yeah, I remember I should have added it.
Yep, thank you.
We'll make sure we do moving forward.
If there are no other questions, can I get a motion to approve resolution 25-44? Been probably moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
So ordered. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other items on the agenda for the for this committee, for Budget Finance and Audit Committee, and so we will move to the next item of business, which is the Development Finance Committee, chaired by Commissioner Merkowitz.
Thanks, Roy. The only item to appear before the committee this month has to do with the restructuring of a housing production fund loan for the laureate. And so I will turn it over to President Andrews for discussion.
Thank you. Commissioners, this item went before DevFin and received support to advance. It's a restructure housekeeping item in order to ensure that we are able to properly deploy permanent financing for the laureate. And as you can see, there are multiple colleagues that work together to think through what the structure should look like and ultimately make this recommendation. Today, you will hear from our Vice President of Real Estate, Nihar Shah, as well as Michael Somerville, who is the Vice President of Mortgage Finance, as well as our Deputy General Counsel, Paige Gentry. And I will turn it over to the team. Thank you.
Thank you, President Andrews. And for the record, I am Nihar Shah, Vice President of Real Estate. And good evening, Commissioners. This matter, as the President mentioned, was presented to and supported by the Development and Finance Committee on June 24th to restructure the Housing Production Fund, or HPF, loan at the laureates. The construction of this property was financed by a senior FHA risk share loan, funded with tax-exempt bonds proceeds from HOC and a subordinate loan from HOC using the HPF. The property owner was a borrower for both the FHA and the HPF loan. The sole member of the property owner is a joint venture between HOC, EYA, and Bozzuto, and staff has received consent from both of our partners on this restructuring. In addition, staff has consulted with bond counsel, tax counsel, and tax accountants who do not foresee any issues under the bond documents. Construction of the laureate was complete back in 2023, and the property is now leased up and is meeting debt service coverage requirements required for final endorsement and the administrative conversion of the loan to permanent financing. As part of preparation for the final endorsement, staff is proposing a restructuring of the subordinate HPF loan to adhere to FHA regulations as they relate to the subordinate loans with balloon payments that have a shorter maturity date than the senior FHA loan, and therefore to be viewed as a mezzanine through this restructure. I'll hand it over to Michael Somerville and Paige Gentry for further clarification and details.
Thank you, Nihar.
For the record, I'm Michael Somerville, Vice President of Mortgage Finance Division. Under the FHA risk share program requirements, subordinate loans that have balloon payment structure cannot have a maturity earlier than the maturity date of the FHA risk share loan. The housing production loan has a maturity date of December 28, 2026. And so as part of, which was issued as part of the construction loan. So which was actually a replacement for the Housing Initiative Fund loan that was originally in the program. So in coordination with the final enforcement of the FHA risk share loan, which is expected later this year, the restructuring of the housing production is designed to ensure the alignment with the FHA risk share requirements and allow for the refinance of the housing production loan in an efficient manner.
Good evening, commissioners. For the record, my name is Paige Gentry, Deputy General Counsel here at HOC. And if we can go to the next slide, please. So I wanted to go into a little bit just more detail around the proposed restructuring and what that actually entails. So if you're looking at the chart on the left side of this slide, the borrower is the entity in yellow, and that's the borrower of the two loans that both Mike and Nihar discussed, the FHA risk share loan and the HPF loan. Both loans are secured by collateral, which is the property itself. So the chart on the right shows the proposed restructuring. We again have the property owner in yellow, and that would assign its interest in the HPF loan as borrower up to the entity in orange, the sole member that Nihar talked about earlier. And then with this assignment, the sole member becomes the borrower under the HPF loan. We'd also be changing the collateral. So instead of the loan being secured by a security interest in the property, it would be in the membership interest of the sole member in that property owner. This is more consistent with a more traditional mezzanine debt, and we also have it on cider mill. I would note that the regulatory agreement, which sets forth the affordability requirements tied to HPF, would remain on property. As part of the restructuring, we'd also amend the operating agreement of the property owner to ensure that there's a mechanism to distribute funds up to make regular payments and required payments under the HPF. And then with the restructuring set forth in this chart on the right, it addresses the issue that Mike raised around the borrower will no longer be party to a subordinate loan with balloon payments that matures prior to the end of the FHA loan. As Nihar mentioned, I do want to flag, we ran this restructuring through bond counsel, tax counsel, and our accountants to make sure that we weren't triggering any sort of unforeseen issues. And then we have approval from our partners, EYA and Bazzuto. So Nihar, I'll return it back to you.
Thank you, Paige. If you could advance to the next slide, please. So we are here in front of the commission here today to request formal approval and action on this restructure on July 9th, 2025. And we recommend as staff that the commission support our recommendation to authorize and approve the restructuring of the HPF loan and assign the property manager's ownership interest in the HPF to the sole member only. Assign the sole member's interest in the property owner as collateral for the HPF loan, and also to execute any documents related to the restructuring. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
I'll just appreciate the staff for walking us through this at the subcommittee level in some detail. So very helpful.
If there are no other questions, can I get a motion to approve resolution 25-44?
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, 24-25-45.
I'll move that one also.
Okay, we've already approved
Second, I'll
44.
second.
Okay, it's been probably moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So ordered. Thank you. That's the only item that's before Development Finance Committee. Therefore, can I get a motion to recess the meeting in order to convene the Development Corporation meetings? Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So ordered. The development corporations are entities that are wholly controlled by HOC and own various properties. For each development corporation, the board of directors is comprised of the HOC commissioners, and the officers are the same as the officers of the commission. Each development corporation held its annual meeting on June the 4th, 2025. The meeting convened today are to approve the minutes of these meetings. I now call the meeting of the Alexandria Housing Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th, 2025? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. With no further business to come before the corporation, the meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Barclay Apartment Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Brookside Glen Apartments Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Diamond Square Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, the meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Glenmont Crossing Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
It's been probably moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Glenmont Westerly Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025? Is there a minutes motion?
Move motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Magruder Discovery Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Metropolitan Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 24th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Montgomery Arms Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
It's probably moving second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Oak at Four Corners Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Probably moving second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Panion Square Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Poos Hill Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the VAD 6 Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Scatter Site 1 Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from
So
June the
moved.
4th, 2025?
So moved.
Probably moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Scatter Site 2 Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Sligo Hills Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the TTM Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the VPC1 Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the VPC2 Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Wheaton Metro Development Corporation to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes
So
of
moved.
June 4th, 2005? Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. With no further business to come before the corporation, this meeting is adjourned. This concludes the Development Corporation meeting. We will now reconvene HOC's regular monthly meeting. It's late. Go get tired on a long journey. Pursuant to section 3035B and D of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, I move to adopt a written closing statement dated July the 9th, 2025, and to adjourn the open session to a closed session to discuss 4 topics. The first topic is potential litigation at the Elizabeth House 2 project. HOC must discuss this topic in closed session to protect HOC's interests and attorney-client privilege. Section 3035B7, B8, and B13 allow this topic to be discussed in closed session. The second topic is separate confidential offers related to properties located in Rockville and Silver Spring. HOC must discuss this topic in closed session to protect third-party confidential, commercial, and financial information. Section 305B13 allows this to be discussed in closed session. The third topic is the status of ongoing negotiations with the union. HOC must discuss this topic in closed session to protect the confidentiality of the negotiation. Section 3035B9 allows this topic to be discussed in closed session. The final and fourth topic is the financing terms for the property located in Bethesda. HOC must discuss this topic in closed session to protect a third party's confidential, commercial, and financial information. Section 3035B13 allows this topic to be discussed in closed session. If a member of the public that is watching this meeting in real time on YouTube wishes to object to the closed meeting, please comment in the YouTube chat box or contact HOC's general counsel. Instructions can be found in the Open Meetings Act objection procedures, which is posted on HOC's website. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting is therefore is now approved. Therefore, we are now complete our meeting as of 5:47 p.m. and we will now adjourn to a closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.